Hi guys, James from DBG here, and as I said in the previous video, this is just a quick a few minutes on the colours and techniques I used to paint the American Flames of War army. So, as you can see, I have a selection of vehicles, an infantry team, and the paints that I used. I am slowly changing over to these dropper bottles, mainly because of the lockdown and being unable to pick up GW paints from the shop in town, and the Revell paints, which are really good if you're doing military vehicles. They're high pigment, they do have a nasty habit of drying out. You do have to check on them regularly, and just add a little bit of water, stir it through and give them a shake. Otherwise they will dry out on you, especially if you're not doing anything military wise for a while. But anyway, I highly recommend the Revell Aqua Colour if you are doing any sort of military vehicle, for any army, any scale, or even just for, you know, painting and building a model for the fun of it. Anyway, so first of all, start with the tanks. The tank colour I used, which is the closest colour I could find to US olive drab, is Revell Aqua Colours NATO Olive. This one's almost out because I'm doing a lot. But yeah, just a liberal coat with an old brush all over the model, and you've got to get it in to all nooks and crannies around the drive sprockets, return rollers, bogies. Don't need to worry too much about underneath, but the wheel was just inside the tracks there. And obviously I paint these two parts separately. So I have, as you can see over there, I have pots, old pots of paint with blue tack on the top to act as handles. One for the turret, focus, one for the turret, one for the hull. And then you just slap that stuff all over. Then on the tracks and all the metal parts, which includes hull machine guns, or in the case of these guys, the pintle machine guns. So the tracks, the road wheels, and any tools I used, and I've only started using army paint stuff recently, but this is amazing. It does take a bit, as I'm new to this, it does take a bit of a while to get used to how much you actually need to squeeze out of these bottles. Luckily, because I was using so much black, I had to keep adding to it and adding to it instead of squeezing out too much to start off with. So yeah, put that over it and do with the road wheels, and you don't need to worry too much about getting any extra over any places you've already painted the green, because the way I do it, I lay down all the base colours that are going to be washed the same, and before I put the wash on, I tidy up again with the green. So anyway, once you've done that, I then do the tools. Now the tools I base coat in dried bark. Now historically, all tools, that's hammers, axes, spades, everything else was painted the same colour as the tank. But because us modelers like a little bit of variety, we paint the handles wood colours. So I base coat those in dry bark. Then we use lead belcher. Now lead belcher is just using the edge of your brush. Just run along the length of the 50 cal or 30 cal, both sides. Don't do the whole thing. You just want a suggestion of something metallic going on. Then on the Shermans, you do the guide horns and track cleats, and you do the blades and hammerheads, and just a little dot on the hull and coax machine guns. And obviously the crews, I'll talk about the crews because they're exactly the same colours as the infantry when I talk about the infantry. So once that's all done, and obviously the crews are separate, they're painted separate, then glued in afterwards. Just thought I'd say that. Now on the open hatch, thin down simple fine grey more than you would normally. Obviously everything is thinned, 2 thin coats and all that. Thin it down more than you would, so it's, you know, semi-opaque, and just pop it on the inside of the turrets, because the interiors of the tanks are painted white, unless they're British when they're painted cream or silver. Anyway, once you've done that, it's the old skill in a bottle. None oil over everything. Obviously, you know the rules of none oil. Don't let it pull. And there's a liberal coat over everything, so it dulls everything down. And obviously that's going to take, actually I found that in the tracks it was taking over an hour to dry properly, so you might want something else to do while you're waiting for that to dry. So once you've done that, you then go back to your netto olive, and then you go back over doing natural highlights, obviously leaving stuff in the recesses as you would do normally. Because they're mainly vehicles, you're going to be leaving, like on the bonnet of the half track, down there, and the inside of the hull, around the doors and everything, around the wheel hubs and everything. You're going to be leaving gaps. So you're going to need a medium-sized brush to a small brush. I had 2 sizes brushes when I was doing that. I have, using an Army Painter regiment brush and character brush, alternating between those 2, which are probably the equivalent of a small base brush and a medium layer brush over using Games Workshop brushes. Other size brushes, I don't know. So once you've done that, gone over the all green, then you go over all the tools, highlight all the tools. So I do a two level highlight. So you do Mornframe brown over the tools. Let's grab this, and then after that you're going to use Scrag brown. Just not all the way along, just certain places, just to give the illusion of some light falling on it. Then you're pretty much done. Then it's decals. Now decals, the way I do it is I have, you see, I have a pot of clean water there. I get some tissue, fold it up, cut out the decals to size, soak the tissue in water, then put the decals on, then dab water onto the decals. You leave them for 10 or so minutes. Then you do what you normally do, slide it on. I don't put gloss down before because of the way I weather things. I tend to find it doesn't really matter once I've weathered. So you do that, then I use this stuff. Regardless whether it's on a flat or curved surface, a liberal coat of that over it is very thin. It does run everywhere, so you have to be careful. It does come with a brush, but I have a different brush on the side. An old brush, you don't mind getting a bit mucked up. That takes anything up to half an hour to dry, depending on where it is. and you must let it dry properly, otherwise you start doing anything else to it, the decal, because it's soft, and that's what it does, it softens it and makes it conform to the shape more, and it also reduces the backing film. So you leave that about half an hour. Then you come back in with some lamy medium. I haven't brought it over. Lamy medium over the top. That dulls everything down and it seals it. Then we're on to the weathering. Now I simply dry brush my weathering on. I've got a nice selection of really nasty old brushes that are perfect for this. So I start off, this along with Algodown Black are the two colours I go through the most. So we use Revell Aqua Colours Dark Earth. And you dry brush that where dust would collect. So all around the tracks, all around the bogies, drive sprockets and road wheels, underneath the hull there, over the top of the hull and the cheeks of the turret. And obviously a liberal, this is probably not a good one to show, a liberal splattering over the back of the tracks and the hull. Then, when that's dry, you go back and do a slightly lighter dry brush with Revell Aqua Colours Beige. Another colour that's really good is Ushabti Bone. Or, where is it? You haven't got any of those. Yeah, this is it. German Camo Beige. So it's another good colour for a dusty effect. And then you do that over the places you've just done the brown. Bish bash bosh. Glue in your infantry. Sorry, I should have said you stick the stowage on before you do the yeah, you stick your stowage on before you do the dry brushing, but after you've done the decals. Right, infantry. So here's an infantry bait, and this is the same for the tank crew. So first of all, I go over the jackets and the high leg gaiters in Revell Aqua Colours Olive Grey. These are quite thick, so you're going to need to thin them down quite a lot. So they go over that, and I do everything a platoon at a time. So the armoured infantry did the whole platoon in that. Then we do the helmets and any grenades or anything else in Citadel's Castellan Green. Then we do the trousers in German Camo Medium Beige by Vallejo. Then you do your boots and all the furniture and entrenching tool handles in dry bark. And then you do your faces and hands in Bugman's Glow. And then you do, I should have got this out because you can't get shades of black, although you can. A different finish, I use Algodown Black for the barrels of the rifles, SMGs and pistols. And then again, once you've done that, over the whole model, none oil. Again, once that's dry, these don't take as long to dry because they're smaller, and please don't let it pull, because if it pulls on this, then you're pretty much screwed. So come on, focus for me, please. Focus. There we go. Excuse me. Right. Then what you do once that's dry, you go back over the jackets and gaiters in the green grey. Then you go back over the trousers in the German Camo Beige. you go back over the helmets. Basically, you go back over everything in all the original colours, apart from the focus, apart from the what was I going to say? Yeah, apart from the browns. You leave the boots, because they're really tiny where you can hardly see them. You leave the boots dry bark, and you just go straight over any other wooden bits with the same two. So Mournfen brown followed by Scrag brown. If you want to, you can add a little bit of lead belcher to any weapons. I haven't, because I've seen a lot of World War II weapons and they are black. It's black metal, so out of this scale, no one's going to know. Then we come to the fun part, which is the skin. Because, as you can see, the faces are so detailed, use Kislev flesh as a highlight, picking out cheekbones, noses, jawlines, fingers, etc. Then, last but not least, you need to do the webbing and equipment. So go around the back. The webbing and equipment, as you can see, is a slightly lighter grey, which is light olive or hell olive. So that just goes straight over, obviously leaving lots of lovely recessed detail when you do it. Then you pop them on the base. Some people paint them on the base, all glued in. For me, it depends what it is. I tend to use, he says rummaging around trying to find something really handy. I tend to use a lollipop stick. You just blue tack or super glue them on, depending on what they are. The crews for the priest I had to super glue on. And that way you're free to, these guys, you just press it there. You've got a nice handle. Go around and you can get everywhere. Then once it's done, you pop it off, pop them off, clean the blue tack off, put it in your nice pile because you don't want to get blue tack muddled up. You glue them into your bases. Then I have my nice sand mix. There's my sand mix. There's a nice mix of it's actually play sand with some, those bigger stones are model railway gravel. There's some bigger bits of slate that sometimes make it onto bases, sometimes don't. But you can easily just pick out the slate and super glue it on separately, but they're mainly for the bigger bases for 40k and what have you. PVA that on. Again, paint it in dark earth, which is fantastic. It's such an amazing earth colour. It's not true. And if you thin it down, the capillary action is amazing. You can just run a line of it and half that base will be done. And you run a line of it and then the other half will be done. There's only you just, yeah. Then once that's dry brush with your beige, and then you flock them with whatever flocks you would happen to have. I used greens. I've got some tufts I've got from War Painter on eBay, and some Army Painter Battlefield Grass, which is actually a really nice colour, and I picked this up for £1 at Salute one year. So there we go. I'll tell you what I forgot. Shells. The shells in the ready racks. I just used Retributor armour. You don't need to see that. Retributor armour with a nun all over the top. Dulled it down enough to make it look like dirty brass. Bish bash bosh. Done. So that's it. 4 days later, you'll have a 75-point American Flames War Army completed. So, as usual, guys, check out the links in the description to all the affiliates and sponsors, Goblin Gaming, and all the other ones I can never remember. Obviously, patrons on there as well. And, as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.